Just make it turn off. I just have to give myself a spin.
Welcome everyone to our pre-match press conference. We'll start with Vinny O'Connor at Sky Sports, please.
Hi Sean, you okay?
Good, thanks.
Good. We'll start with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Have you got a timescale yet on when he's going to be available? Have you got to the root of the problem?
No, the root of the problem's pretty easy for the medical side of things, and now it's just time, make sure his body's well.
How does it impact the game plan not having him? Because we can easily contrast the performance against Arsenal with the performance against Liverpool.
No, we've got other good players here, and I think it's more important to focus on them at this stage because, you know, facts are facts, Tom's not available. So until he is, my focus will be on the players that we have got available and the team unit, which is always more important.
How then do you weigh up the options that you've got at your disposal, Sean? Because you've got the experience of Mopé, the youth of Ellis Sims. You could even play Damari Gray through the middle.
Yeah, I mean, they're the three most obvious. You know, I think the mentality has to be you score as a team and you hope not to concede as a team, obviously. But, you know, the framework of the team is important. So it's not just about the individual players, it's about putting players in an area to score goals, whoever that may be. You know, the whole team has a responsibility to score, as we did against Arsenal with a good set piece. You know, so I think it's the mentality of a group. And obviously you do want players fit, but it's the mentality of a whole group that's important.
Aside from what's going on the pitch, though, Sean, fans obviously feel it's unfair that you don't have that extra option up top. Unfair on you at the minute. Arguably, they could point to the fact that someone like Wout went to Besiktas on loan.
Easy for you to say.
I know. Wout Weghorst even.
Well done.
But he went on loan to Besiktas, obviously, in the summer. So they will look at 2 transfer windows, and there was potential for deals to be done. They haven't seen the striker brought in to supplement your squad, and they've seen it happen in other positions as well in the past. Have you been given an explanation again that you could pass on to the fans?
Well, I'm certainly not deserving of any explanation before my time there, because that was a different regime, different people involved. Since I've been here, I'd sat, and I don't mind reiterating, I sat here for some 48 odd hours, more or less here all day and all night with all the relevant people doing everything they can. The one thing I would say, to share a view of it, is you may well have noticed, and the world will have noticed, how many strikers are out there. You know, what is the market you're looking in? How many are out there? How many are Premier League ready? Because obviously in the current moment, you know, we're not looking at necessarily development players. We have that in Simsy, you know, learning his trade. You're looking for people, really, let's have it right, that you're looking for people to affect it straight away, and that's not an easy market anyway for anyone. You know, so I think you look at it, you have to be honest about the marketplace and then your part in it. And, you know, all I know is that the hours that people spent, the phone calls, as I said, I was physically here myself, searching, trawling, looking through angles, looking through possibilities, looking through, you know, things that could affect the group. And also at the back of your mind, having the group in mind, you know, the quality of the group. There is quality here. So, yeah, I can only speak of my time here, and the people work very, very hard to try and get a deal done with certain situations. Sometimes it's just simple alignment. It's not always money. I mean, money often, you know, covers a lot of things and solves a lot of problems in life in general, not just in football. But it's not always the case. You know, certain players at certain clubs, certain situations, everyone has to align. And it's not an easy situation.
I think what they'd look for, though, maybe is reassurance that lessons have been learned, because it goes back to before Kevin's time as director of football as well. I mean, you can look at the numerous transfer windows where Everton were looking to bring in a right back, and that didn't happen. And the fans are worried that this kind of situation will continue, that they're not able to bring in the reinforcements that are needed to help you do your job.
Well, look, I came in here with open eyes. You know, I know the squad, I know the situation, and I know the realities within that, and it's going to be a big challenge. Everyone knows that. You know, so there's no point in trying to mask that. Within that, like I said, I mean, you know, the Arsenal game's a reminder of the quality that is here. Of course, the striking department has got less options than you would like in the Premier League, of course, and especially for a club of this kind of size, and it's the expectation of its fans as well. But you can only work hard to deliver that. You know, there's not an exact moment in time. The squad has a different balance to it that needs readjusting because there's lots of players in certain positions, and that often comes with a change of manager. Now, I hope to be here to not be changing the manager all the time, quite obviously. Got to get results to make that happen. But, you know, I'm trying to align a situation that is better going forwards, you know, than maybe these twists and tweaks of having different players at different times, and you end up with a sort of this squad that's kind of too many players in one area, not enough players in the other, and that type of thinking. But that does take time. We all know that. The players under contract, there's players you have to bring in, you have to spend money, you have to bring money in, and all the balance of how the club operates. So I'm aware of all that. It does take time. Now, within that time, like I said, the main focus at the moment is to fast track the side into getting the points, winning games and creating that mentality and creating that team ethic, and also the fans playing their part of it as they have done already. That alignment is really important to me at this moment in time. And then further down the road, of course, in the background, I'm already talking about what can we do next? What can we open up? Are we already looking, which we of course are, exploring many options, exploring possibilities, being in touch with the right people, getting our scouts working diligently across the board, and covering as much of the situation as we can to try not to have this arise again, basically. It does take time. You can only fast track so much.
So what feel have you got for why this current group has been able to take points off the likes of Arsenal, Manchester City, yet hasn't been able to do likewise against those sides in and around them in the Premier League?
Well, as I said, I've seen from the outside, we're trying to bring a different format in the way that I think's appropriate, not question others. It's just what I think's correct. Over the two games, of course, the importance of the derby is a different importance. I'm well aware of that. But over the two games, if you took 3 points, I think most would go, okay, that's a reasonable start. Like I say, taking away the emotion of the derby for the Evertonians particularly. Building on the back of that, two performances. Similar in one way against two good sides. Arsenal flying, of course, and Liverpool ups and downs, but still a very good side. We know that. Not that much in it, really. Not as much as people were sort of suggesting. We didn't create as much against Liverpool. It's hard creating, really good opportunities away from home. I thought we did create enough against Arsenal at home. So finding that balance of making the squad tight, making the team tight, but also having enough freedom to go and operate and play forwards and affect the opposition. So that's been what we've been talking about with the players moving forward into the next game, is not just being solid and working hard, which is of course a real prerequisite of mine, but working smart, and opening the game up to allow us more freedom to go and create more opportunities and find that right balance, and that's what we're looking for.
We can obviously bill this as a must-win game because, as I said, the fact that the side has dropped points against those sides in and around them in the Premier League. So how do you see it? Every
game's a must-win in the Premier League. The Premier League is a very, very unforgiving part of football, and every game's important. We've just shown that. People could have written off the Arsenal game, but we go and win. That's a very important 3 points. Every 3 points, no matter how they come, is important. So my focus on the next game, regardless who it is, we're learning about the players, we're pushing them hard, we're pushing their boundaries. Of course, not enough where we stretch them too far, but trying to push for the next level, trying to push for the next performance, and that'll be key to us. Keep performing at a very consistent and push the consistency. And something I've been obsessed with many years is raising the minimum. How can we raise the minimum? How can we stop really quiet days and off days and collective down days? So we're pushing that as well, finding consistency on the training ground. That's got to go into performances, and I'm well aware we have to do it rapid style. We have to get that consistency, that mentality as a constant.
With the change that Leeds have made, what have you noticed about them in those two games against United, and what are you expecting?
Yeah, like fine margins in many situations. I saw them at Forest, and arguably I thought they were the stronger side on the day, but they didn't win. That can happen. I think we take everyone seriously. I certainly do in the Premier League. Our players do. They'll have the knowledge of the opposition. Some of the twists and tweaks that we think have changed slightly, but also a lot of thought going into our performance. And as I said, finding that right balance between opening up enough of the game to be productive, while staying tight enough to make sure that you look after yourselves.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sean, picking up on what you said about differences in performances, we spoke to Goodison a little bit earlier, and he said, breaking down the performance at Anfield on Monday, if there was a criticism, he felt as a team you were too nice, and it's something that as a team must be addressed going forward. Is that something you agree with?
Well, I think if the players, and certainly someone as experienced as him is referencing that, I think that's a fair reflection on their feelings when we met when I first came in. So I think that was adjusted against Arsenal. I think there was a real edge to the performance. I think our fans were a big part of that. They will be going forwards to make the feeling of the stadium right, and to make it that horrible, hard place to go and play. Away from home we weren't far off, but that little bit of edge, it's a fine margin that, and players need that bit of edge, and it spreads collectively. So maybe just off, but not a million miles. Stats were good, physical output was good. Some of the play could have been better, of course, and the productive play been better. but 2 mistakes eventually change the whole view of a game. You know, if them mistakes are not made and it's 0-0, I think you'd have find everyone said, yeah, another solid performance. So, you know, I don't get too carried away with that, but it's good that the players are recognising that, and if he is, with his experience, as I said, very good player, for him to recognise that, that'll spread across the camp.
And talking about his experience personally, he said playing in a 3 with Onana and Decore, being able to communicate better, because he said he spoke in French on the field, he felt helped in the performance against Arsenal. Have you been breaking down different areas and looking for the little 0.1% where you can get that?
Well, all the individual work has to marry in with the teamwork, but you often find that they're aligned. You know, when you get all noses pointed in the right direction, the players become aware that it's good for them as individuals and it's good for the team to be productive. So that's all we're looking for. It's not just about the current side that has played, it's about the squad. And I said to the squad the other day, they trained the day after the game, not the starters, and they trained fantastically well. And I said, you're the strength of the group, because when the team change, you've got to be ready to perform. And I think that's been fantastic since I've got it, that mentality to say, yeah, I'm ready. So, you know, that's a group mentality, and I think that's really important. So not just about the communication, which is helpful if they can communicate, of course. They do all speak very good English, I must make that clear, as you know. But there is a connection there, you know, from what they are. But that's not why they're in the side. They're in the side currently because I think they're very good players. There's other good players here, and it's my job to pick the 11 that can win.
On that note of the squad, what is the team news heading into Leeds? Has anything changed? Do you have anyone coming back?
No, a couple of the lads will play tomorrow, which I'm going over to watch. Jimmy will play tomorrow after a bit of a timeout, and Pato, he'll play as well in under 21 sort of fixture. So I'll get over and watch them tomorrow for the first time. They're not there yet, you understand, but they've been on the grass with us, and now it's to put it into game practice, and then take it on next week.
And just finally, related to what Vinny said about how important it is, I know every game in the Premier League is a must-win game because it's difficult to win in the Premier League. But in the context of your season right now, is this one pivotal, if you like, to what you want to achieve?
Look, the league table, the most important one is the end of the season. When the final whistle blows, that's the most important league table, and you can look back at all the ins and outs of it. Certain results are more helpful than others, of course, but like I say, you can't underestimate excuse me, the strength of beating Arsenal. It changes the feel, rewards the fans for a fantastic output from them. You know, a lot going on here, and yet they've parked all that, come into the stadium ready to back the side. That might well be one you look back on as a really powerful game, but you don't know until the end. So the one I always look at is the end of the season. Where's that league table, and what does that say?
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. We'll go to James at BBC Radio Merseyside next, please.
Hello, Sean.
Hi.
Just going back to Dominic, I know you said after the derby that there's almost a two-pronged process to fix the existing injury, but also make sure he doesn't break down fully.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of not breaking down fully, what does that look like practically? Does that mean taking him out of the group for a couple of weeks, and if so, what will he be doing in that time?
We hope to marry the two together, so while you're out is doing the work that strengthens the whole body, not just the injured site. So that's the nirvana process to go through as a player being injured, and getting them back on the pitch when they're fully, completely fit and clear. And then they still need some training days to make sure their body, because when you train under control with physios and the like, it's a different style of training. When you train with the first team in normal training, if you like, and when you're fit, it's reactive training. You know, you have to react and be proactive with everything that happens. You can control different ways of coming back from injury. It's about when their bodies are free and clear, getting that natural movement pattern, and that can take a bit of time. Some players do it, you know, hand in glove very quickly. Some take a bit of time. He hasn't been out that long, so you'd hope that happens quite quickly, of course, when it occurs. But yeah, that's the kind of ideal blend. Is it works together, hand in hand, and when they come back, they're more rounded fitness, if you like, body fitness as in strength, and also physical fitness as in the demands of the game.
How likely that he'll be involved in some sort on Saturday?
Not yet. So improbable, I would say, because like I say, we've got to listen to his body and listen to the medical team and their opinion as well. And the main thing for me is with players. You know, I speak to them. You know how they feel. And you forget is they know their own bodies often. So I think it's improbable.
And you wouldn't be here unless you thought you could succeed in keeping the team in the Premier League.
You are right.
What have you seen on the training field and even in the games itself to enhance that belief that this is a challenge you can?
Well, I think since I walked in, the whole feel of the place, you know, not just here. I mean, the fans, the kind of the sense of fans that I'm getting, the feel of the fans, the demand from the fans, but in a healthy way. Getting behind the team, the feeling here. There's been very open-minded players and staff. quite reality bound. You know, it's a challenge. You know, last season was a big challenge. They're into that again now. That experience, but also the things that are needed, the work ethic of the team, the alignment of the team, that's all been good so far. And I don't say so far down and it will be good. It's just that we want to make sure that that consistency is there, and it's a big thing for me. You know, as I mentioned earlier, raising the minimum standards, raising the minimum performance so that we keep pushing forwards, we keep enhancing the bigger performances that we're going to need going forwards. And so far, the alignment's been really good across the club, something that I believe in wholeheartedly. Eventually, not now, I know there's some noise of other situations at the club, but eventually you want it where the fans, the ownership, the board, the directs, the manager, the team, everyone's online for what Everton stands for. And I think that's the bit that I'm looking for. But of course, that can't happen without sorting out and affecting the here and now. And that's what I'm working really hard, and the players and the staff, to sort out the here and now to get that alignment to start occurring.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Shamoon at BBC Online.
Hi, Sean.
Hiya.
You've got back-to-back home games now. How important is the form going to be at Goodison Park for your objectives at the end of the season? And do you think will it define where you finish?
Well, we don't know about that, as mentioned earlier. The end table, you know, you look back on what defines what, but we want to be on the right side of that table, quite obviously. The home games, I think, are going to be important because of the way that Goodison feels. You know, I witnessed it for the right side of being the Everton manager at the last home game. You know, that is an incredible energy for the players to play with. And I mentioned the other day, we've got to transport that feeling. I mean, you can't transport all the fans, although I know Evertonians back the club home and away. You can't transport the whole feeling, but taking some of that feeling and getting it ingrained in us as a group, so when we go away, we have that internal feeling of the home feeling, if that makes sense. You know, the way the crowd are, the feeling of a home stadium, and that mentality. But it comes over time, and you know, as I keep reiterating, I know we've got to fast track it, but I think the home vibe, the feel at the home stadium, the fan feel is massively important. And it was a big thing against Arsenal. Now we need it in every game, and I'm sure the Evertonians will be there. Despite all the other noise, there was noise before that game. They went in the stadium absolutely aligned with what the team is going to need, and that is a support from the major Evertonian support base we've got.
Have you set a points or a wins target internally with the players?
No, as I said, at the end of the season, that table's the one that defines it. You can look at all the stats and facts, and I've got plenty of them, I can assure you. But at the end of the day, it's that league table that counts.
And you spoke about the fans. They're planning to protest again on Saturday before the game. How much is that as a distraction to you as a manager? How much is a distraction to the players? And what's your message to the fans who are?
I don't think for 1 minute they're trying to affect any of that. I think the noise is a different thing. I don't think it's about distraction from the players. I think they're trying to just get across their point. I've got to learn more about that. I haven't been here to understand the depth of that. But all I can say, they've been fantastic about the team. You know, fantastic about me being here, which is, you know, that can be a debate point. So far, they've backed me, they've backed the staff, if you like, not directly or not as directly as me, and the feeling in the stadium with the players. And that's all we can ask for. You know, they still have a voice, they have a right to have a voice, fans. No one's got a problem with that. I certainly haven't got a problem with that. And if they can push that voice into the right avenues when the whistle blows, and that's what we're after, and they've done it fantastically so far, so that's all I can ask for.
And do you think they can park what they protest about outside and bring it
well,
inside?
From what I felt like and what I saw and what I absorbed at home in the Arsenal game, then that's a resounding yes, because they did so with aplomb.
Thank you. Have you any more questions in the open section? Will?
Hi Sean, I know you've been asked a couple of times, but just to put pays on it, would it be fair to say that if you were going to bring a free agent in by now, it would have happened so far?
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously only 16 goals scored this season has been a problem in front of goal. I'm sure you're trying to eke out those extra margins. You put a lot of emphasis on set pieces, scoring goals since you've arrived. Yerry Mina is one player who was really potent in the opposition box. Is he someone you've considered bringing in just for that attribute?
Yeah, we haven't actually put any more emphasis on set pieces than what it deserves. There's a percentage of goals in any Premier League season. The percentage will be, aligned with set pieces. Open play, there's many different stats and facts, so it just deserves its place. It's still a chance to score goals, so there's no extra emphasis. I just think we want to use everything we can, every option we can to try and score goals.
Obviously talking about the percentages though, given the lack of attacking players, is he someone you would consider bringing in just because of how potent he can be in the final?
I think it's improbable in football you bring a centre half in to change the flow of goals, but who knows? Maybe you've hooked on something that I should know more about.
Talking of defenders, we want to ask a little bit of housekeeping. Jared Bramthwaite's out on loan to PSV Eindhoven. Of course, it reportedly caused a lot of interest, really thriving out in Holland. How much have you spoken about it with maybe James Ball?
I spoke to him.
The plan.
I spoke to him just to catch up, say hello, let him know who I was. He's going along nicely. He wasn't playing early season. Got through into the team, has done nicely and played well, and he's enjoying the experience, and that'll be a great part of his development.
Is he someone who you're looking at for next season then maybe to bring
We'll
in?
wait and see.
Thank you, Will. Okay, we'll move on to the newspapers next, please.
Cheers, Sean.
Cheers, mate.